Altro? Manca? Signora? Arrivederci. Ah, ok. Bravo, sai che non me lo ricordo. Prosecco. No, non ce l'ho. Crema.
I'm Wendy Holloway, and you're listening to the Flavor of Italy podcast, sharing the very best of Italian food and wine, lifestyle, and people. Good morning. This is Wendy Holloway with the Flavor of Italy podcast, and you'll note that I'm not releasing this episode on my normal Tuesday. It's actually Saturday that you'll be seeing this for the first time. And so why am I doing that? I'm doing it because I wanted to get the episode out on the day before the live Italian language event that I am running along with Davide tomorrow. So it's going to be tomorrow, 6 p.m. Rome time, noon Eastern Standard Time, and then 9 a.m. on the West Coast, Pacific Standard Time. So please sign up for this class. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. You'll learn a lot. It's completely free. And even if you think, oh, well, I'm not available at that time, sign up anyhow, and you'll receive the recording of the event. I've done a podcast episode in the past with Davide, and it's Davide from Italian with Davide, and his classes are fantastic. This is just going to be a super fun thing, food-focused mainly, but a little bit of other stuff. I think we'll have a lot of fun with it. So sign up. Head to my website, flavorofitaly.com, and you can register right there. Or for any questions, send me an email to wendy@flavorofitaly.com. And remember, flavor spelled the American way without the U. A lot of you followers have already registered for this class, and the questions are flowing in. And a lot of people just have some generic questions about Italian, the history of Italian, and why certain words are so difficult to pronounce. So I'm going to address some of those things in the podcast episode today, just to give you some Italian language background. I think a lot of people have the misconception that Italy and Italian have been around forever. They have in a certain sense, but it's been a long evolution to come to the point where we have the Italian language we have today and the country. So let's bear in mind that the Italian peninsula once consisted of multiple independent city-states, and they weren't unified until 1871, when they became the Kingdom of Italy. But if you think about it, 150 years is a brief amount of time to have spent as a unified country. So it's really no surprise that Italy's 20 official regions still boast distinct identities, cultures, and languages. So Standard Italian, then, it really evolved from the decision by the newly unified Kingdom of Italy to use what was the Tuscan dialect, spoken mostly by the upper class of Florentine society, and it was decided to use that as the model for the official state language. So what is this Tuscan dialect? Well, the Tuscan dialect was first formalized by the 14th century scholar, a number of them actually, Giovanni Boccaccio and Francesco Petrarca, but principally Dante Alighieri. And Dante Alighieri, he really is credited with cementing the Tuscan, or the Florentine, more specifically, language as a standard literary language. So there are lots of dialects as well. So what's the difference between a language and a dialect? Today, there are about 34 Italian dialects. So you wonder what distinguishes them, what makes one a language. In the case of Italian, what makes others dialects. Generally speaking, dialects are the informal, orally used variations of a language. whereas a language is inspired and noted in works of literature and culture. There's no real distinguishable linguistic difference between a language and a dialect, but it's mainly a question of recognition, political recognition and validation, which was the case in the establishment of Italian as the official language. Some of these dialects are really firmly established, like the Sicilian dialect. And in 1982, Ethnologue described Sicilian as being distinct enough from Standard Italian to be considered a separate language. And it's also recognized by UNESCO as a minority language. Although Sicily is part of the Italian state, it has really a completely different history. We all know it's an island, and Sicily has had many conquerors, including the Arabs, Spaniards, Normans, and they've all had an effect on the shaping of this Sicilian dialect or language. So while it seems there will always be kind of this gray area in language versus dialect, it's important to recognize the distinct political, cultural, and historical factors that influence a so-called dialect or language, and why they are defined as one or the other. So Italian is, or the lingua italiana, it's a Romance language of the Indo-European language family, and it evolved from the Vulgar Italian of the Roman Empire. And Vulgar Italian is more or less the spoken Italian. Most people probably think that Italian is only spoken in Italy, but that's not really the case. Well, the language is spoken by over 85 million people, and it is the official language in Italy and also the Vatican and San Marino, which are two very small countries that are physically within the terrain of Italy. But Italian is also an official language in Switzerland, which a lot of people don't know. And it has official minority language status in Croatia and in some areas of the Slovenia and Istria. And then let's not forget that Italian is also spoken by large immigrant and expatriate communities in the United States and lots of South America and particularly Australia. Italian is the second most widely spoken native language in the European Union, and it's spoken as a second language by about 13 plus million European citizens. So including the Italian speakers in like Switzerland, Albania, and the UK, then you add up and you get to this total of 85 million Italian language speakers. As I mentioned before, Italian's the main working language of the Holy See or the Vatican. And it's also the official language of the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. And then think about the importance and the effect Italian has had on language in different kinds of sectors like music. So think of music terminology and opera with numerous Italian words that refer to the music, and they've become international terms that are taken into various languages worldwide. And these musical terms fall into a category known as Italian loan words that continue to be used in most languages. And again, it's in matters of art and music, and especially, as I said, classical music, including opera, but also in design and fashion industries, and in some sports like football, let's say European football, and also especially in culinary terms. I mean, let's just think of the most basic things that we almost take for granted as English language terms. Spaghetti. A few other important and fun facts pertain to the language. One is that almost all